Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Sonic X Shadow Generations as we get to our penultimate part of the Shadow portion of the generational experience. But yeah, we're pretty much just using this as just one final part to talk to our friends. Nostalgia. But anyway, it's also here where we learned that Maria also visited Spagonia, as I mentioned in the previous part, and in turn that Shadow's favourite drink is also coffee, which I thought was meant to be a joke from like one of those Sonic Twitter question and answer sessions that they get the voice actors for on the occasion, but no, I guess it's canonical. I guess maybe it might have been written into like the Sonic Encyclopedia thing, but yeah, whatever. I mean, either way, Shadow eating food, delicious. Acqueast. In any case, though, yeah, I figured I might as well get some last tidbits of dialogue from all of our friends. Then we pretty much move on to get our final power-up before... It's kind of a point of no return, really, because if you go up to Chaos Island and get the final power-up, it does also pretty much cement things in a, a bit of an endgame capacity, and I suppose I might as well mention it here since, well, we're not really going to be spending too much longer in the, well, white space hubworld, so to speak, before everything starts to fall to pieces. Yeah, basically, by the time you get to that point of no return, you do get some additional challenge acts that you can do, and, yeah, I don't really bother to go after them, because really it's just sort of a bit of extra chaff that, I mean, kind of in the endgame is just, well, I mean, it'll be a bit dissonant. It's kind of like going after, like, a Chocobo Racing and the whole Gold Saucer kind of thing, like, towards the endgame of Final Fantasy VII, so, yeah, not really apropos. Though funny, but, yeah, just, wouldn't really feel appropriate. Anyway, Big also talks about wanting to learn Chaos Control, but he refuses, because that would make fishing too easy, and, well, I mean, I suppose given the fact that Chaos Control can also freeze time would also mean that the fish wouldn't actually bite, so Chaos Control has no meaning for him. Ah, well. Also, Shadow doesn't want to learn how to fish. Would probably solve a lot of his angst and patience problems, but... ah, well. Anyway, we do get some amusing dialogue from E123 Omega Hit, though. He wonders if Shadow can turn himself into a gun. I don't know whether or not he was making a side jape at the Shadow androids from the Shadow 2005 game, because, they technically could turn their hands into guns where they launched missiles at you. Yeah, well, probably just a funny little in-joke for those of you who know or do not know. But in any case, as we also transition over to Rouge, he also has some slightly amusing dialogue about how, oh tee-hee-hee, hoddle-ha, my boys who are very violent and angry, they also care about me. Team Dark, finally reunited, despite what Sonic Team said like, about a year or two ago, where they said that Team Dark were no longer in association with each other until they are. Oh, Sonic Team, if you could ever just pick a decision and stick with it, that'd be nice. Though, I mean, I will give them slight credit, they have been doing a better job of it this decade than they have in the last, but, well, call me cynical, but, yeah, depends on how long this grace period will last before the next Flight of Fancy comes along, but, whatever. Anyway, we've had our fill of conversations and filler commentary, so I think about now it's time that we finally gained access to our next ultimate power, and, one that's a very tasty treat we got to play with at the beginning of the game.
Something calls to me. No! No!
del Monte. The Doom Wing. So basically, this is basically Shadow's equivalent of having a bit of a super form, so you speak. As you can see there, it's draining your rings, and hold R2 and jump into my arms, and then we will fly there with you.
You are finally complete. Come, face me. I shall claim you, mind, body, and soul, and become the perfect being.
I'm sorry I put you on this path, Shadow, but I'm proud of how you have walked it. I believe in you, son.
Shadow!
It's all right, Maria. I'm letting go of that destructive anger. But I will continue to fight. Fight with your wish in my heart. Your wish for everyone to have a chance to be happy.
I can't believe it! Shadow the Hedgehog, the guardian angel of the Marii. But yeah, this is basically our lead up to, well, the final boss fight. Obviously using elements of Radical Highway and, you know, Black Doom's bizarre fascination with that stage, but either way, utilizing all the abilities you've learned throughout, from Doom Morph to Doom Wings to basic running skills, we can finally make it if we just stick together. I forgot how the rest of that song goes, cause it's a little bit shit. But I mean, anyway, yeah, the ascension to Doom's ultimate, Black Moon, really. Yeah, it's from there that you pretty much access the Radical Highway, and from there, we pretty much have our final stage of the game. That's also where the last two acts, and yeah, we also have our final boss fight. And yeah, to kind of talk about the Doom Morph in and of itself, if you are knocked out of your little slime trail, you do pretty much revert back to Shadow good and proper, so, yeah. Best to sort of stun some of the Black Arms enemies and get yourself there pretty quick smart, but yeah. I'll talk about the Doom Wings a little bit later as we actually get into the level, but yeah, won't actually be too far away, but either way, the final stages in the game, while I suppose some might be kind of tired of the whole Radical Highway thing, since we've sort of seen it as a bit of a repeated theme throughout the game, I will give this level credit. It does do two slightly interesting things. Before I get into it, first of all, having the Doom Wings in and of themselves, you can pretty much switch them on and off between this and previous levels, so that's pretty good. But yeah, for the first act, we pretty much have a, you know, a new take on a Radical Highway as a level in and of itself. It is worth noting that it did actually appear in the 3DS version of Sonic Generations as, you know, part of the regular game, so yeah, much different take than what we would have seen beforehand, but in the meantime, however, we do get a pretty cool take on it with this level. First of all, starting off as just a basic regular level, before then eventually getting into some of the twistier aspects that we've seen beforehand, now that Black Doom has fully assumed control. And yeah, it does play with a lot of the stage gimmicks rather well. I mean, again, we have like the twisty pipes which we can use to jump off, and now our new gimmick, where Shadow becomes the Batman. But yeah, to kind of finally get into this good and proper, in lieu of a super form, since we don't have any of the Chaos Emeralds, most of those are being relegated to Sonic's portion, yeah, Shadow can pretty much utilize the Doom Wing to pretty much just go across vast swaths of the level and, you know, pretty much make his merry way, and it can be rather easy to abuse since you are pretty much skating over large swaths of the level, which does kind of make me wonder, is this potential testing for what a Tails-themed Sonic level would be like. I mean, we did technically have Tails playable in Frontiers, and, you know, I guess designing level terrain for Tails who could quite easily skirt over large swaths, you know, provided that he doesn't get tired a little bit. Could be quite interesting here. But, I mean, regardless, though, yeah, quite fun. To continue going into the Doomwings, though, again, you do have a rapidly diminishing count even when you aren't in flight, so, yeah, it is basically Shadow's super form without actually being a super form. And as far as I know, there is no way to sort of de-transform out, so it doesn't quite have that little grace period thing of, you know, sort of switching the swarm on and off. You're pretty much there to have it until it runs out, so, yeah, use it at your discretion if you want to be conservative with your rings, but, again, you'll generally have a lot more rings to sort of sustain the transformation, so, yeah, not really too big of a bother, just keep on going as you see fit. Of course, if you decide to play this level without the, you know, the Doomwings, you do have a lot of regular level terrain so that you can pretty much complete the stage by doing a vanilla run, but, again, as you're also seeing right there, considering that Black Doom now has a stronghold on this level and, you know, the domain of white space, yeah, no chaos control, so your chaos control abilities, no more freezing time, no more, warping anywhere. Kind of a shame, really, but then again, we do also have the Doomwings to pretty much, like, you know, make up for the power balance, so, yeah, plenty of fun to be had around this level. I guess to sort of, I suppose, talk about potential criticisms, I guess what people would have had in exchange for this level, since, you know, Radical Highway does get a fair bit of use as is. Not really too sure what I would have really used. I suppose potentially the Black Comet could have been one, because, I mean, it would have made sense. I mean, Black Moon, Black Comet could have potentially been quite cool to see more of a direct Black Arms representative level, but I don't know. I feel like this level does sort of work for, you know, what it's trying to go for, and, again, seeing a cityscape sort of twist and contort, you know, does bring back some of the more positive elements of, you know, DMC Devil May Cry with how cool the Limbo concept was utilized, so, yeah. I don't really have too many complaints here, but, you know, I can see some people feeling a little bit shortchanged, and, again, I guess also being a slight example of, you know, how short this game can sort of be. Again, going back into that Burning Rangers example of, while Sonic X Shadow Generations for the Shadow portion is very well made, it is also rather short, and, you know, they do have a lot of cool gimmicks, is that, well, you know, if it was a longer game, well, they have to, you know, skimp out on a few details here and there, as was regrettably the case with Frontiers, where some details ended up having to sort of be rushed to the last minute, apart from like a one last minute update, and you know, that kind of thing, really. Again, it's a bit of a catch-22 that is a bit of a problem that, again, has been sort of brought up with a lot of, you know, modern parts of the games industry. You know, how third-party developers can't really survive in a climate like this, and indeed how a lot of people demand a little bit more from their gaming experience, and how companies also attempt to shortchange us in the effort to both try and keep their budget, but also nickel and dime the consumer. But that's a lot of real-world stuff that, you know, shouldn't be applicable here, because we're all just here to have fun with the Shadow the Hedgehog. And, in turn, we're also pretty much nearly done with this part of the stage as we warp around and around, and wow, my head's spinning! Oh, William Corkery, you still haunt my nightmares as the worst voice of the Tales that ever existed. A rank. A for awesome, or atomic, or absolute. Yeah, I accidentally switched the theme to Central City here by absolute mistake for the whoop-the-doodle. But I mean, well, Central City barely got any use in Shadow the Hedgehog anyway, so might as well give it a little bit more. I mean, after all, I do think the city is either meant to be Westopolis or Central City anyway, considering the president's appearance, so, whatever. Kinda makes sense, I suppose, in a weird, roundabout way. But yeah, the second act of, you know, Radical Highway does make use out of, you know, the afternoon setting. It does also have a bit of a rain theme going on, which again is also quite cool, makes the level feel a little bit more unique, and, yeah, it has a lot more twisty elements going on, so better watch your back and just make sure that you're going on the righteous path, dudes. Yeah, just make sure to avoid a lot of those, you know, slabs of, you know, concrete and debris going your way, because otherwise, well, Shadow won't be very happy. But apart from that, not really too much to say. You see a lot of familiar elements. This is pretty much just, well, a bit of a victory lap for Black Doom throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you, because now that Shadow is fully prepared, well, we're coming to the end of this little game. And you do actually have to be careful on some of those areas, because I mean, you will fall off and you will die without proper care or playing skill. Unless, of course, you have enough rings to sustain your Doomwing transformation, so yeah, just be forewarned. We do actually get another interesting transformation of a Black Arms creature here, so yeah, quite interesting, and we'll be seeing that as it summons tornadoes and as we finally make our way towards them. And be careful with the tornadoes, otherwise you'll be, well, shot to shit. Just it deflects Chaos Spears, so guess the only thing for it really is just you know, launch up and attack it. Yeah, just pretty much utilize your Doom Blast to pretty much take down this little segment right here, and yeah, it loses its tornado abilities, give it another blast again, and avoid its little Chaos Blast thing, if that's what that's even meant to be. And yeah, Boss your uncle, you do the thing, and now you pretty much move on to greener pastures. Yes, being very careful here, don't want to fall off. Don't get distracted by the kaleidoscope patterns. Whee! And yeah, apart from that, not really too much else to say about this segment of Radical Highway. It does make for a very fun final level, if a little bit more challenging, but, you know, it's a final level. It does have the, you know, excuse to sort of be challenging as much as it possibly can. But you do also need to be careful of your positioning, because sometimes those tornadoes can knock you off course, and, well, yeah, you're gonna find yourself plummeting to your doom. Dare we say, a black doom? Puns. Yeah, very draconic looking Black Arms creature over there, though. Quite cool looking, though, and, you know, quite fun. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I recently checked out the Singapore dub of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime. And, yeah, for those of you who thought that the 4Kids dub was a bit fucking ridiculous, well, all I have to say is, looking good, dude! And I'm only really bringing that up, because I got fuck all left to say, and, I was just watching that video before I started recording, so... Yeah, putting all that aside, though, to get back onto topic, rather than just talking about looking good, dude! Yeah, just, really fun final stage, and more choices with the Doom Morph. I can't tell whether those walls were closing in, or whether that was just me being paranoid. After all, is it really paranoia if they're really out to get you? Probably. But yeah, as you can tell, Doomwings, I mean, they are obviously made for this stage, and they're a lot less broken to use here than they are in a lot of other aspects of the game, where the game isn't really out to just sort of squish you like a concrete sandwich, but yeah, quite good all around, really. There we go. Yeah. I mean, it does kind of bring to mind, like, a lot of elements from Shadow's final boss in and of itself, and it does kind of make me kind of wonder if, you know, potentially this... well, I mean, we are going to be seeing a little bit more of a different take on a Black Doom boss fight, since, you know, he's the main villain of Shadow's story here, and, we are going to be seeing quite a few interesting things when we get to the final boss in the next part, so, yeah. I guess you can kind of consider this what a level would have been like if we, you know, had Super Shadow sort of going all throughout the levels and, you know, his version of the events. But in any case, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time we get to the final part of the Shadow portion of Sonic X Shadow Generations. Catch you later.